What's up, guys? Today I wanted to do a quick video about product criteria, specifically demand and saturation. I came into this was what took me probably the longest when I found the product I'm using right now, was deciding whether or not it was worth selling or if it was going to be too competitive to sell in. Basically, there's about 3 to 5 things that you really want to go through. Some of these you guys have probably heard of, but the first thing for me was bestseller ranking. You want your top product, #1 product on that page, to be under 1,000. The lower the better. That means it's selling. It's the bestseller in that category. The lower the better. Preferably under 1,000. All these are kind of just guidelines. They can be, if it's 1,200, that's still pretty good. You want your top 5, to me, I would say top 7, to be under, say, 8,000 would be good. Sales, monthly sales is another one. You can't go by revenue because that's dependent on the price. You want to go by sales. You want to go by how many sales they're doing a month. Some people would say that you want it to be greater than 2,500 a month for like 2 or 3, maybe even 4 of the top 5. To me, that's going to be, it's kind of dependent on other things, like is the second page selling as well? Are there sales on the second page, approaching 1,000 a month and that kind of thing? To me, you want to start out with something that's selling 2 to 3 a day on average throughout the top 10, throughout the top 7 at least. So you're going to want to get your stuff on the front page anyway. So if it's something that's selling, 2 to 3, maybe even 5 a day throughout the top 7 or 8, then you should be good. Another thing to me, this is all for me, another thing for me is the search volume for the keywords, which you can use that keyword keg, like I said, for free. This is all free research, by the way. Use the keyword keg.com, like I said in the last video, put that in the description. You can see the top 5 for that broad keyword and then on down. And also Google Trends. That's where you would use that stuff. You want to take that, the BSRs and the search volume and the monthly sales, and you're going to be able to tell if there's demand. Because if you've only got 150 being sold by the top guy and it goes all the way down to 6, you're probably, that's another video, because that's actually, to me, a good starting point. Is if there's, say, 400 sales a month, you may be able to break into a market that's not necessarily being touched yet. That would be something you would want to track. As far as saturation, that's where your reviews are going to come in. You want the top product to be less than 300 reviews. That's a must for the top product. You want to have at least half the top 10 under 100. I would say even more than that, to be completely honest. If you have, it's kind of hard to explain. You don't want it to be where every product in the top 5 is at 800 or 900 reviews. You want it to be kind of spread out, where one guy might be racking up, but the rest of the top 5 is making sales. They're making some sales every month. It's something that you could get into. Let me look at my notes here. Another thing is, at times I think we get lost in the criteria and we don't actually use common sense. If it's something that is going to eventually be big and it doesn't look like it is at the moment, by all means jump in it. But if it's something that's is being like, I looked at a Bluetooth speaker the other day, which was not in a category I would want to get in, but it was it looked so good on paper, but then I was like, there's too many other things going on the side that would keep me out of that. So it kind of kept me from doing it. The only exception, by the way, to that BSR having, if 3 of the 5, if you have a lot of reviews and it's not spread out, the only exception to that would be if the second page has that as well. If it's like the top 12 to 15, then you would be okay, I think, because you're going to have a lot of people with those sales every month. You want to make sure that it's a product that can be private labeled and it's not branded, because a lot of these that are just now coming in, they they do have, they can be private labeled, but they're also being private labeled by a bunch of people. So you're looking at a lot of things going on at the same time. You want to make sure, though, demand's probably the biggest thing. And I mean, you think in your head that that's an easy thing to research, but it's really not without a good tool. And for me, that Jungle Scout filter, that was the only reason I got the web app, was because of the filter. Because you can basically, everything I just said, you can put your BSRs between a range, your price between a range. It's going to bring up everything. I'm thinking 500 product, right? No, it was like 3,000, you know, per category. So you got a lot to go through. Just be patient. That is where this game right here can get you, is that you want to get started, you want to get money coming in, you want to find a supplier, you want to do all these things. And so you see 3 of the 4 criteria and you're like, oh, I'm jumping. No, you want it to be every single one of those criteria met, because if you don't, you're setting your, that's a shortcut. And if there's one thing that's going to be talked about on this channel, is that you do not need to take any shortcuts. I've talked about free tools and things like that, and that's good for starting, but at the end of the day, you are going to have to come out of pocket to get the better, more specific tools like Jungle Scout and others to really get the research down. Another thing is tracking. So for example, if I have a product and it meets all my criteria and the sales are good, the price is good, everything, you need to track that product for 10 days minimum. I would say at least a week, and come back and see if that is still holding, if those prices are holding and if those sales are holding, because people might have been doing a promotion and they're just getting their promotion done, and then now it drops back down the sales. So that's important. There'll be more content on suppliers as well. I got a lot of things in my head. I'm trying to just make these videos as quick as I can, throwing this information out there. A lot of it people already know, and that's fine, but you got to start somewhere. The beginning is the beginning. It's a start. So I would definitely, all the criteria that people are talking about, make sure you're meeting all the criteria. Don't just jump into a product. Another thing is that you want to make sure you stay away from certain categories, because there's certain categories that are okay to sell in, but the competition for just about everything, like if you try to sell iPhone cases on Amazon, yeah, you can do it. You're not gonna make any money, because you're gonna have to sell 1,000 of them to make any money, plus you're gonna be in a competitive field. So make sure you're doing your due diligence in the competition side of it, with the BSR and the reviews and the sales. I hope this video makes sense. It was really fast. I've got 100 things going on away from here, so I'm trying to just pop it out with the information that I needed for myself today, and I hope it helps you guys as well. So we'll keep moving every day. I'm going to learn something new. Thanks.